the resource and another edition of Masterclass Series. I'm so excited because Sue Woodard is with us here today, and what a superstar and what a treat. Thank you so much, Sue, for being with us. This is awesome.
I am so glad to be here. Thank you so much for the honor. It's great.
Yeah, and you don't really need an introduction, but as we talked about earlier, we have realtors and lenders that watch the show. So for realtors that may not know Sue, first, she's a superstar. I mean, she's been everywhere, done everything, still currently doing everything. She's currently the Chief Customer Officer at Total Expert, which is a great CRM if you guys are looking into one. She's been a top originator, radio host. She's been on TV, CNBC, NBC, CBS, others. I think she's received just about every award the industry has to offer.
That just means I've been around a long time.
And you're speaking at Sales Mastery soon, so that's cool. I just spoke to Dave Savage, a friend of ours, yesterday, and he said that you're easily in the Hall of Fame when it comes to people he's interviewed. So kind words from a mutual friend.
Boy, the stakes are getting high here. I better do a good job.
So we'll get right into it. Sue has a ton of value for both realtors and lenders. I love talking to people like you because you have a really unique perspective because you get to work with just about everybody out there.
Yeah,
you know, from like the new companies like maybe a Loan Depot to the more traditional companies. You get a mastermind with a lot of CEOs, executives, and then you get to speak as well with like the Todd Duncans of the world. So I feel like you have a really unique perspective, and I want to tap into that today. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to go right into our first question for Sue. When I talk with my peers, both on lending and in real estate, there seems to be like some nervous energy out there right now, maybe even like some uncertainty about the future. What would you say to that loan officer, realtor, or even in the executive that maybe is feeling this way right now?
Yeah, a couple of things. And I mean, number one, you're spot on. There's certainly some nervous energy and even I would say some fear that's happening right now. Because the industry is in a real interesting place. You know, I mean, there's certainly the volume is down right now. We've got inventory situations happening across the country. Refinances are pretty much non-existent. You know, a lot of lenders relied on. So there's a lot of different factors weighing into it. So it certainly is true that there's a lot of people feeling that uncertainty. So a couple of things that I would say. You know, the first and most important thing is just this is the time to be proactive and be the captain of your own ship, so to speak. It's advice I remember my dad gave me years ago when I was wrestling around about something, but I was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen, you know, with change and this. And he said, you know what, you grab the reins, you grab the wheel here and you captain your own ship.
Yep.
So when we're looking at some of the factors going on out there, like, you know, some of the Zillow studies I've looked at recently saying that up to 50% of consumers are talking to multiple realtors and multiple lenders. So just because they've talked to us, they're not talking to just us. So what do we do about that? You know, the ones that we say, they say they're going to work with us again a second time, but then they don't. We find out that they're going elsewhere. It's, you know, what are we taking action on? And so, you know, I know you mentioned Sales Mastery. That's one. There's tons of great opportunities out there to learn from some of the other people in the industry. So now is the time that if you haven't traditionally kind of plugged in to industry things, you're obviously watching a great resource right here. But whatever the, you know, however you can connect and mastermind and learn from, block out time in your day to be doing that and listening to the people right now that are taking action and are winning in this environment and take action on those things yourself. So it's just a time to be proactive.
I get the nervous energy. I totally get it. You know, from top to bottom, if anybody's feeling that way, like I think that's normal right now. You kind of validated that too. I don't know. For me, I'm excited. I won't say that the market's been easy the last 5, 7, 8 years. I won't say that, but right now it's definitely different. It's new. It's a new challenge. I'm super competitive, so I just get excited. And I want to be, just like back in 06, 07, 08, I was like, I want to be the guy that makes it through and outlast everybody else. So if you're that realtor, that lender, just like Sue said, channel that, lean in, and dive in versus, you know, scaling back. Like this is the time to go to Sales Mastery. This is the time to dive in with the leaders of the industry. So I 100% agree with that. So let's go to something that you are like uber experienced with and passionate about, and CRMs, right? You're at Total Expert right now. When I talk with lenders and realtors, I don't know if you agree or not, you can let me know, but I feel like they're severely behind the curve when it comes to leveraging CRMs. Why do you think that is? And talk about like the huge missed opportunity there.
Yeah, a couple of different things. And I would say it's not even just CRM, it's technology in general. I think our industry, you know, both real estate and the lending industry has been really far behind on the technology curve. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, when you kind of dial back 10 years ago, we're in a pretty bad situation, just to put it in perspective.
Right.
When people think times are tough right now, pretty tough situation 10 years ago. And that's when a lot of technology was really advancing at that time. And companies just weren't in a position to make those kind of investments and risks and, trying out new different kinds of technology when it was literally a survival game at that point. So, whether it is, a total expert, we actually have stopped using the term CRM and we call it a marketing operating system.
Oh, nice.
And it really is for lenders and it's for realtors as well. Your realtor partners, you can do some amazing co-marketing on the platform. But in terms of looking back to why I think we're behind the curve, one of the reasons are, as I said, just the slow ability to come to market with it, along with the pace of technology innovation. And part of it is very interesting, and something I know is a little controversial when I say, but I think it's true, is I see, as you said, I talk to a lot of different companies all over the nation, and in many cases, leaders are very unwilling to lead with their technology and tell their loan officers, this is what we're doing. So I can say, having, put it in place a lot of different companies and watch their best practices. The companies who are winning with, marketing operating systems, CRM, automated marketing, whatever you want to call it, are the leaders who really come out and say, hey team, this is what we're doing.
100%.
And so we're going to put this in place. We're going to do it. We're not going to do 25 different systems and whatever you want to do. There are some leaders that I see, especially in this climate, that are afraid of their loan officers. There's a lot of movement. And so I absolutely, having been an originator a long time, I understand you have to be respectful of, the way that somebody wants to do business, but work with your technology stack to, build that loan officer's, special journeys that they need to have built. You can do that. I think it's just one of those things that, again, especially now with the pitfalls that are out there and the opportunities that are out there to really show up and capture those leads, to keep that customer for life, to personalize, you have to use technology to do that. I mean, there's just no way to do it without it.
You said something on your Facebook page, not to jump ahead, but kind of goes with this, and it was a takeaway, which I'm going to ask you in a minute, but I think it was Bill Emerson. It was saying technology is an investment and not an expense.
Yeah.
And there's a reason he said that, because he knows that not every company believes that, right?
Yes.
And that's so important. Technology isn't something, as lenders try to right size, that they would want to. And that's what I'm hearing from you. They don't want to pull back necessarily on that technology suite.
No,
right?
You have to double down,
Yeah.
because it's the thing that enables, and interesting, because sometimes I know both in real estate and lending, people get concerned about like, oh, is all this technology going to just replace the realtor or replace the loan officer?
Right.
No way. But I do think that the loan officer or realtor who's utilizing technology is going to replace the loan officer or realtor 100%. Who is not.
Yep.
Right? So
Yep.
you have to automate these things in order to capture those opportunities that are, it's even more competitive right now. So again, it's one of those things that on the leadership front, leaders have to lead. And if you're in an organization where technology is being implemented, find out how you work with it, not work against it.
Yeah, and there's the challenge for the LOs, even realtors, because I know Keller Williams is going heavy in owning their own technology. Gary Keller recently spoke about that. But it's a challenge. Think about it if you were running the company. Technology is not cheap, right? And so we all know margins have been down. So it's tough. It's not like, well, here's a couple $1 million to go buy whatever technology. So the antidote is the fix, which is technology, but you don't have, we're not swimming in profits anymore. So it's not as easy just to go, well, let's write the check. So it's a lot tougher than it sounds. You're 100% right, and I 100% agree. You want to double down on technology. You don't want to pull back. But therein lies the business challenge of lenders aren't making a whole lot of money in this environment. So that's why it's so difficult. And I think that's why that'll set apart who makes it through this evolution and who doesn't. Right?
Right.
Who has the capital to actually invest in what needs to happen moving forward. So whole different path.
Well, and you know what? It's also about tying all the technology solutions together. That's such a huge thing. I mean, the biggest pain point that I hear from a lot of companies are they've invested in technologies, or they have, well, these people use this thing and these people use this thing, and then we use this thing, and all these things, and none of them talk to each other. And so I think it's a big responsibility that we have on the technology side of things. And I have a huge heart for this industry because I've spent most of my career in the mortgage industry, but we're solving that pain point. And I think more and more technology vendors are doing that. So a word of guidance as you are seeking out, a technology partner, whatever one that might be, whatever piece of your tech stack you're looking to solve, just make sure it talks to your other solutions and really talk about the integration piece of it, because that can become a pain point and make it ineffective. It makes your investment ineffective if you don't have it tied together.
Yeah, double data entry and the APIs aren't working properly. Yeah, 100% agree.
You know the drill.
I stole one of your takeaways. I think you were at the Digital Mortgage Conference last week.
Yeah,
which I should have gone. I'm so mad at myself. I did find a lot of it online and have already
it was awesome,
consumed a lot of it, but I wasn't there, kicking myself. What was your 2 biggest takeaways if you had to limit it to 2?
If I had to limit it to 2, one I will say you already really said, it's that technology is not an expense, it's an investment. That was a huge takeaway for me. But if I really kind of took it to the headline of what I heard woven throughout all of the other presentations, whether it was vendors talking or lenders talking or some of the great speakers that were there, it was talking about that it's all about the customer experience, and it's all about the consumer experience, and it's about delighting the customer. And I think in many cases, a lot of technology has operated in a way that's fighting what people's natural tendencies are, right?
Yeah.
And being on the loan officer side, I know realtors probably fight with this as well. There's times you want to punch your screen because you can't believe that you have to do it in this weird way because it's so unnatural to the way you want to do things. And there's actually a story I'll tell you. When I was in college, they were getting ready to put sidewalks in on my college campus. And rather than just putting in sidewalks along the side of the road where you'd traditionally put them, they kind of waited and they found where all the paths actually were, where people actually wanted to walk across the grass. And that's where they put the sidewalks.
Oh, so smart.
Right?
Jeez.
And so interesting. And I look at technology the same way, is let's put technology in the way that if you naturally want to go here and click there, let's put the thing you need to click right there at the place somebody wants to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways that I had, is really just the focus on that. And I think it's definitely true for a technology vendor. We have to be ultra focused on that. But I think even for loan officers, for lenders, for realtors, really think about the technology that you're putting in front of your customers, and even your own customer experience. Is it hard to get in touch with you? Is it hard to apply for a loan with you? Is it hard to get follow-up from you? What experience are you giving that customer? And really ask your customers for critical feedback on how could this have been better? Did I miss the mark somewhere in terms of a contact? Or really, audit your experience and think about it from that point. You know how they're naturally going to act. And so ensure your process, put the sidewalk where the people actually are wanting to walk.
That's just great high-level thinking just in anything in general. One of the takeaways, even though I wasn't there, is I was looking at the speakers there, and you know this because you listened, there are some super smart people coming into our space, and it wasn't long ago that we pressed hard 3 copies. Mortgage was really late to the technology game, and now that it's arrived, there's a lot of new, fresh thinkers and thought leaders that are going to change it and have already changed it. So that was really cool to see. I'm excited to have some of that new, fresh blood, some different thinking in the industry. So that was really cool. And again, I'm trying to consume everything I can online when they're posting their talks and stuff.
Well, and one thing I'll piggyback on top of that with that is exciting to see that I really saw at the conference is that, I think when the digital, mortgage and lending revolution really started, both for real estate and mortgage, maybe 5 years ago, if that, maybe 4, there was a lot of technology vendors coming into the space that didn't know anything about, real estate, about lending, and they had this thing, but it was like, that's not actually what we need. But then you had all these people with this great industry experience that didn't necessarily have a technology background. So now with the time that's passing and the learning that has gone on, you're starting to see the technology vendors, really are syncing up with the subject matter experts that they need, bringing them into their companies. And so that's been exciting too, because you can just see it throughout the technology world. And we certainly believe this here at Total Expert. We have to know our customer. We have to empathize with our customer. Your pain has got to be our pain.
And we need those vendors to come in and challenge us that maybe don't know if you and I think about mortgage, it's going to be very linear from start to finish, right? Because that's what we know. And then somebody's going to come in and go, well, why do you do it that way? Why don't you do it this way? Why don't you put the sidewalks where people walk?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we
exactly.
need that. It's good yin and yang. And I love that we have new energy
Yeah.
and new people that are coming in going, well, just because it's been done that way doesn't mean that we continue to do it that way. It
Exactly.
makes us better
100%.
as an industry when we have new blood, new ideas like that.
Yeah, it's an exciting time.
The other thing I love following you for so many years, you are a personal brand guru, in my opinion. What does that even mean and look like for loan officers and realtors today, and why is that so important? Because I feel like you're the expert on this.
Well, it is so critical. And the exciting thing that I see right now when you talk about your personal brand is that I'm seeing, like I have never seen before, that your broader companies at the company level, they used to kind of want to squish your personal brand. I think that's just like, no, you work for the big company. Don't you think you're a personal brand? But I'm seeing now huge companies, you know, some of our client companies, they support wholeheartedly embracing that personal brand. A couple of interesting reasons I think this is happening is, number one, it works, right? Like people connect. People don't buy from companies, people buy from people, and 100%. People want to work with people, you know, they want to look in your eyes and work with you as a person.
Right.
So when you think about that personal brand, it's exciting that, as I said, I'm seeing companies embracing that more and more. And also we're in a purchase market. For the foreseeable future, we're going to be in a purchase market, and a purchase is a very personal transaction. You know, a refinance tends to be a financial transaction. It's kind of, you do the math, you figure out if it makes sense or not. But a purchase, you know, you're moving your home, maybe you're getting a new job, maybe you're getting divorced, maybe you're getting married, maybe you're expanding, you found out you're having triplets. I mean, who knows what's going on, but it's personal. There's something going on in your life when you purchase a home. And so you being having a personal brand, it has never been more important, but also never more embraced by, like I said, by I think the companies that we're working for. So, I mean, a couple of things that I would tell people is, you know, your personal brand, first of all, is not just how you present yourself, it's also how people perceive you, because sometimes those aren't exactly the same thing.
Good point, yeah.
Think we're presenting ourselves in a certain way and this is our brand. It's also, what are people saying about you when you're not in the room, because that's part of your personal brand as well, right? And the reality is, everybody listening to this, you already have a personal brand, right? It may not be something you made by intent, but you have a personal brand. There's 5 words that people would use about you, you know, when you're not in the room or when you are in the room. And so, you know, a good audit you can take to start out with is talk to some people who aren't afraid to be real honest with you and say, what do you think of me? What do you think my personal brand is? Audit yourself online. You know, I mean, the good old Googling yourself, what actually comes up, you know, and how do you look? What would you think your brand is when you know, if you just were to Google yourself and see yourself online? Or
simply scroll on your phone, and if everything you see on your wall is maybe negative, maybe you're not as positive as you thought you were.
Reevaluate. But, you know, and if I think a lot of people, you know, have been afraid to do that for a variety of different reasons. And I think, you know, again, a couple principles I'd tell people is, like, you know, there's one I call it the jumpsuit principle, meaning, like, I have a jumpsuit in my closet that's like, it looks so good on my girlfriend. And I was like, I'm going to go buy that same jumpsuit. It looks horrible on me, and it's still got the tags on it. And so don't try to be a personal brand that's not actually you. Just because you see somebody else's brand and you're like, man, that Ryan has an incredible brand, I'm going to like copy, you know, everything with him. It may not fit you right and look right on you. So be authentic to yourself. And I think, you know, critical things with brand are telling stories. You know, get stories from your from the customers that you're working with. Don't be afraid to, as you're sitting there with a customer and some cool thing happens. I'm getting older, Ryan. And so the older that I get, the more I need to write things down. And so I write those stories down. You know, when something cool happens, we capture those stories, and then I'll write it up and we'll even give it. I mean, we do this at Total Expert. We kind of give the story back to a customer and say, does this seem about right? And if so, you know, can I use it, or would you change it? Do that in your business. I mean, grab those cool stories. People love stories, and that's what grabs their heart.
Yeah, we call it story selling. We've had shows on that. Obviously, we're video guys. Capture it on video. It's timeless.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You know, tell that story on how you helped that family. Maybe they went to 2 other lenders, and you got to put the cape on. You came to save the day and close the loan in, you know, 10 days or whatever. And now the family gets to, you know, buy the home of their dreams. Capture that on camera. Leverage social. Leverage your CRM. I mean, 100% agree.
Do nothing else after listening to this call except for take that point that Ryan just made. I mean, seriously, that was one of the most important points that there is right now in marketing. Is video is it. That's what people watch. And when I talk to people and I say, how many of you are doing video in an audience? You know, little scattering people will raise their hands, right? But when I ask them why not, oh, I don't know what to say, this and that. But reality is, they don't like what they look like on camera.
Either
right?
do
That's
I.
why
Look
people
how much
don't
gray
do it.
hair I have.
But guess what? That's what you actually look like
Yeah.
all day long, you know? I mean,
Yep.
we go around backstage of our face all day, but whatever you see in your camera, hey, that's what everybody's seeing anyway.
Yeah.
So just be real, get out there, snap the video. I never rewatch my own videos. I like record and I hit send. I mean, unless I have slipped and like I swore or something in the middle of it. I mean, I never watch them. I just record and I send. And if you're on, you know, on my LinkedIn or on my social, you'll see it. I flub up my words sometimes, but get it done and get it out. But use video. 100%.
It's crazy to me. We've been doing this a long time, and I remember telling RC, hey, I mean, many years we've been doing this. I remember telling him years ago, like, we better be good at this because this is going to catch on. And even in Sales Mastery last year, you and I were both there. There was very few hands of people that leverage video, and there are very smart, successful people in there. And it just makes me wonder, they're already successful. How much more successful would they be if they actually leverage video? So for some reason, it's still untapped, and it's crazy to me. I wanted to say one thing before we go to our last question to wrap up that whole conversation, because that was money. We've been talking about consumer direct and community direct. Consumer direct is super important. It's where the puck is going. I feel that lenders and LOs should have their own consumer direct strategy. Don't abandon community direct. Double down on community direct. That is the personal, authentic brand that you just talked about. And if you are hearing Sue's words and you're not sure what your brand is, that's okay. Have that authentic question, audit, like you said, of yourself, and double down on your community direct lending. That is one way to supplement and compete with consumer direct. Nobody better.
Direct. That's good. I'm going to write that
Community
one down.
direct.
I actually really like that, community direct.
Yep. Nobody better than you and your community, and you know and believe that. You're the expert in that community. Trust me, the big brands, Sue, you know this too, that are killing it in consumer direct, and we can talk about the 1 and 2. We all know who those are now. They're struggling with local presence. Right? So they're killing it with consumer direct, killing it with marketing. They have a ton of leads. They're having a tough time converting those leads because they don't have people in the community. So if you want to know where the puck's going, those two brands are going to work really hard to have brick and mortar in communities, and it's smart. Amazon's doing the same thing. You know, big, huge online presence needs a local presence. They're going to start opening up brick and mortar. So if they are, and they're already killing it, maybe we should take note of that.
Right on.
Community direct. So, last question, I'll let you go, and this has been money. Thank you again so much. You've been talking about change lately, and it's obviously happened in real estate and in lending, and it's happened really, really fast. It took a long time to get here, and now it's here. It seems like everything changes under our feet every day. And sometimes it happens too fast, and it can make us feel uncertain or out of control a little bit. What are your thoughts about the change, and how can we flip the script and actually win with change versus like fear it?
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I think you said it really well. I mean, change is going to happen, you know, whether we like it or not. The only constant is change, as they say. But I look at it kind of like, you know, I almost picture a surfer, you know, like you can stand there and get bashed to death by the waves. The waves are going to happen. Or you can decide, you know, what does my surfboard look like? How do I figure this out? And how do I get in this and like capitalize on these waves that are happening? So I think, you know, part of it is really just getting mentally in the right place and saying, hey, I'm going to take responsibility for the things that I can impact. And I'm not going to worry about the things I cannot impact. I mean, you and I, as cool as we are, we cannot impact the housing market single-handedly. We cannot impact what interest rates are doing. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of things that we actually cannot impact, but there's all kinds of things that we can impact in our business. And so sometimes it's, you know, taking the fear out of it and just saying, hey, I can't impact those things. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. You know, you can't help what your emotions are, but you can help what your actions are. And so kind of going back to what I talked about initially, I mean, now is the time to be proactive, not frantic, but to be proactive. And, you know, if it's to even something like blocking time on your calendar that you don't have right now as a time block, to say, I'm going to read, I'm going to, you know, and once I've read something, I'm going to think about what action am I now going to take? And then who do I need to enlist in that action? And, you know, what do I need to do? But getting really intentional about it right now is critically important. And that's, to me, that's how you kind of ride the wave of that change. And again, are kind of become the captain of your own ship, and you're, you know, you're driving through the waves, not sitting there getting beaten to death by them.
Yeah, and I've been challenged with that a lot. I'll open up for the LOs, executives, realtors. You know, I worry about change. I worry about the new players coming in, and I've just had to put my blinders on. And just like you said, I've been really challenged with, I can't control that. It doesn't do me any good to worry about that. So focus on me and my team and just move forward. And no matter what happens, we're going to be good. Because all this outside noise doesn't do you any good to worry about. And so I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah. Run your game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. I think you got to go. If you guys have questions for Sue or myself, put them in the chat log below. She's super busy, but maybe she'll have time to answer it.
I'd love to.
Yeah, so go ahead and put your questions in the chat log below. Subscribe, forward, comment. Sue, thank you again. This is an awesome Masterclass series. We thank you so much.
Got it.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.